Hello everyone. So I've made some progress on the Thermal Hunter electric. The wings are now assembled. They're all sanded. You can see it's nicely sanded. Everything came out nice and clean. The vast majority of the scorching from the laser cutter has been removed. The leading edges with the plywood core worked really well. I like how they came out. Easy to sand, make sanding the accurate leading edge much easier. So those are done. I have clamped the, basically I inserted the wing tips onto the second panel and just ran some thin CA along the glue joints so that the plywood facing ribs for the wingtip and the inner panel are essentially locked together with CA. And of course there's a dihedral brace in there as well, and I soaked CA through that. So everything is glued, sorted out. And then the next step that I made last night was I inserted my brass wing joiner tubes. And I've seen online that some people are substituting carbon joiner tubes in, which is fine. I like these. Yeah, they're heavier, but to be honest, these airplanes are light enough that for most windy conditions you'd have to ballast them anyway, so having brass wing joiner tubes I think is neither here nor there. But if you like lighter, that's fine. I'm using brass, like I said, and I insert them, clamp the whole wing together, make sure that I've got the correct dihedral, and then I just tack the wing joiner tube in place with a bit of thick CA to make sure that it stayed exactly where it needed to be. Then disassembled everything, mix up some epoxy. In this case, I'm just using this silver tip epoxy. This stuff, this is the main resin, and then there's like a hardener, and I just mix it up on a scale using a simple cupcake tinfoil foil lined cupcake liner, I guess. Just put it on a scale, measure out. In my case, I think I measured 10 grams of epoxy and then added 5 grams of hardener, because it's this is the hardener here, same thing, silver tip, system 3 slow hardener. So it's a laminating resin, so it's nice and liquidy, low viscosity, so you can actually pour it into the well between the spars, which is, before you do it, of course, you have to make sure that your wells are nicely sealed. So I use a little bit of thick CA around all the edges to make sure that the shear webs are fully sealed to the spar and the ribs, so that there's no gaps. Otherwise the epoxy will leak through and drip all over everything. So yeah, I did that last night, filled up all the wells so that now this wing joiner is encased in epoxy and is essentially merged in terms of mechanically. It's merged with the top and bottom spars and the wing ribs and the root rib. So that's all kind of one part now, which gives it a lot of strength. So that's done, and I've done that now for the other wing, so you can see it in there. Same thing there, filled up with epoxy, and of course same thing for the center panel. Are all done, so the whole wing can be assembled now. A little bit of dust on there. Everything has been sanded, trailing edges are done. It's all pretty straightforward, actually. The kit assembles very nice. I'm very happy with how it assembles. The version that's being manufactured now, I've got 75 kits being manufactured, and those should show up in the next month or two. And hopefully you guys will buy them and enjoy them. I've got my spoiler installed, and in this case I actually installed like some little magnets to help lock it down. So you can see this is just little pieces of number 11 scalpel blade broken off and glued to the tips, and I've got tiny little neodymium magnets glued into the corner. All I do is I put a bit of packing tape across the pieces of razor blade to make sure that I won't glue the magnets to the spoiler. I insert it where it needs to go, and then from underneath I glued in the magnets. So I used thick CA, glued in the magnets and the packing tape, because nothing sticks to packing tape. The packing tape prevents the magnet from being glued to the spoiler. And so when everything's set, I just pop the spoiler back out, remove the packing tape, and voila, now I've got a spoiler system so that it pops up, and then when the servo releases the spoiler, it'll snap back down into place and not have any gaps or anything. So that's done. All I gotta do is install the servo, so that will be next. And then cover. I'll probably do the bolts, the wing bolt holes. Make sure that that works with the fuselage. The fuselage has been fully sanded. Here's the fuselage. I've also coated this now with, it's had one coat of Minwax spar varnish. This is a sanding sealer, so that's this stuff, Helmsman spar varnish. You can use any kind of outdoor spar varnish. I use that because well, it gives me a nice smooth finish on the fuselage, which allows me the option to just spray paint the fuselage instead of covering it. So I may do that. I'm still debating how I'm gonna approach covering and applying color to this airplane. So I'm thinking of actually doing tissue, printed tissue, because that's something I do for my free flight stuff, and it'll look kind of cool and be pretty different. So I might do that. We will see. We will see. Yeah, the nose has been completed, shaped. I've got the canopy hatch. It's got magnets on both sides, so it just snaps into place. Like that. This still needs to be sanded again. Like after the spar varnish, it needs a sanding, so I'll sand this now. But otherwise, it's basically done. You can see here, what else have I got? I've got of course I took the V-tail off to coat it with spar varnish and sand it. So this is the V-tail assembly, and you can see how it folds up. So that's how you would put it in your model box or store it for preparation. So you could have a sleeve. This just lives in a sleeve with the fuselage and the wings. And you can see what a compact, that is the entire airplane, a 2-meter RC glider. That's it. You could basically have that in a fairly small box that's only that wide, that long, and that tall, which is pretty impressive. So that would make easy storage, easy transport. You could take that on a plane, no problem. You could take that as well, maybe not hand luggage, but you could definitely take it on a plane. There's the front end. Yeah, very transportable. So yeah, the next stage will be to finish the sanding of the fuselage, it'll take 5 minutes to finish sanding the fuselage. And I really have to decide how I want to approach coloring this whole airplane and covering it. So I may just do clear Doculam over the wings and stab. But prior to doing that, I may actually opt to hit this with a coat of some kind of coloring, because the covering of my Doculam is perfectly clear, so I will want to color the balsa wood perhaps. So maybe spray the balsa wood wings and the stab with I don't know, some kind of coloring, maybe just straight black, or who knows. I just need to think about it. Another option is to leave the balsa wood covered with the clear Doculam and then dope or even use Helmsman spar varnish to attach pre-printed tissue paper that's got a more complicated, fancy color scheme on it, which will look really cool as the sun glows through it, because it'll be sort of this white, translucent, pigment colored tissue. It's like a very high quality Japanese tissue that I use, which I think will give a very unique look to the airplane. So yeah, that's kind of where things are. Everything is looking pretty good. I'm very happy with the kits. The new kits are being made, so hopefully folks will like them, and we'll see a bunch of thermal hunters out there in the world flying. They fly well, so I expect the electric version will be great. looking forward to finishing this and getting out for test flight. All right, that's where we're at. Thanks. Bye.